Hi, Mrs. Abbott here. How are you? Welcome to my kitchen. Hi to all of those students who are at school and those who are learning from home. It's a little bit different, isn't it? Okay, so I thought that we might do a bit of a lesson today on how you can do some learning in the kitchen. And one of the best ways to learn in the kitchen is to do some cooking. Cooking involves reading recipes, measuring ingredients, and also you can learn some really good lifelong skills. Today, because ANZAC Day is coming up next Saturday, I thought that we could make some ANZAC biscuits. Did you know that ANZAC biscuits were associated with the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps? That's what ANZAC stands for, who were established in World War One. Apparently, the ANZAC biscuits were sent by wives and women's groups to the soldiers abroad because the ingredients didn't spoil easily and they kept well during transportation by sea. So here's my recipe, and I'm going to show you how I make ANZAC biscuits, and we'll do a little bit of maths and reading along the way. Here you go. Can you see that? Excellent. So what's going to happen is I'll pop this up on the Ed Studio. So if you'd like to make this at home, you can. Just a little warning, but you probably need mum and dad to help you. This is not something that you can do alone. Okay, so when we are following a recipe, there's some different parts of the recipe that we can see. I've got my title up the top, I've got my list of ingredients, and I've got my method. With my ingredients, these are the foods that are actually going to be going in to make my biscuits, and you can see at the beginning they've all got a bit of a measurement, so we'll be talking about how to measure those items out. Now underneath we've got our method. These are the steps, and we've got to read them really carefully because they're in order to show us how to make ANZAC biscuits. As I said, you can do lots of measuring in the kitchen, and when you're measuring out your ingredients, you're going to need some measuring equipment. So these are my measuring cups. You can see that the green cup is actually 1 cup. Then half of that is in the half cup measurement, which is the yellow cup. Then we could halve it again, and we could use the 1/4 cup. And then we also have my orange one here, which is 1/3 cup. We've also got some measuring spoons for tiny amounts. So we've got the blue one here, which is 1 tablespoon. Then we've got a 1/2 tablespoon, so that's this one's half of this one. Then we've got 1 teaspoon, and then we've got 1/2 teaspoon as well. We're also going to need one other measuring device, and that is the scales, because on the recipe it asked us to measure 125 grams of butter, and that means that we're going to need something to measure weight. So these are my kitchen scales. So I've measured some of my ingredients. I needed 1 cup of rolled oats, of sugar, and plain flour. And that was quite easy because I have a cup measurement that I could use for those ingredients. I also needed 3/4 cup of coconut. It's a little bit trickier because I don't have a 3/4 cup measurement. So I had to add 1/4 cup and a 1/2 cup together, and that gets me my 3/4 cup. With butter, remember we had to use the scales because it was asking for us in grams. You can actually see on my scales a little G there, and it stands for grams. So I've measured my butter, and I needed 125 grams of butter. With my golden syrup, I only need a tiny little amount. So I needed to use my tablespoon, and I think the measurement there was 2 tablespoons. So I had to put 2 of these measurements in, and that's what I've got. Another item I need was a half a teaspoon of bicarb of soda. So I've got that ready to go. The last ingredient I need is 1 tablespoon of boiling water. So I'm going to go back to this measurement and I can measure. My tablespoons are funny because I've got like a round measurement and an oval measurement. Some different shapes coming in there, some more maths there. They're exactly the same though. So when the time comes, I'll get boiling water in one of those. So now I'm following my method. I've heated my oven to 150 degrees Celsius. I've combined my oats, flour, sugar and coconut in my bowl, as you can see. I've combined the butter and the golden syrup in, and I've melted them down so you can see that nice in there. And I've added my boiling water and my bicarb of soda. The next thing I have to do is I have to add this to this mixture, and it creates a really cool reaction. So there's a little bit of science going on in here. So it's got to do with the bicarb of soda and how it reacts with other ingredients and heat. So have a look. You see what happens. You see it all bubbling. It's making a whole set of bubbly goodness. Okay, now once I've added that in, I turn off the heat and I'm going to add this to my dry ingredients so I can mix them all together. And once I've mixed them all together, I'm going to make some tiny balls and I'm going to pop them on a tray. I'll show you again when they're in the oven. So now I've gone and I've rolled my mixture into small balls. Now it does say small teaspoons, but I make mine just a little bit bigger because I'm a bit greedy. I like my ANZAC biscuits a little bit bigger. And then I've pressed them down lightly with a fork. You can kind of see a little bit of a mark on the top of them. I'm going to pop them into the oven now. Now I do have more batter left and I probably can make more, but here's a little bit more maths. How many cookies have I made on this tray? We could count them all individually, or for the older students, I've made an array here. How many rows of how many cookies have I made? Yep, you're right. I have made 4 rows of 3 cookies. So that's the same as 4 times 3. And my answer is I have made 12 cookies on this tray. More to come. My cookies are out of the oven now and they look delicious. I actually ended up making 20 cookies with the recipe that I gave you. So the only thing left to do now is to let them cool and to enjoy eating them. Last bit of maths though. If I have 12 cookies on the tray and Mrs. Abbott takes one to eat, how many are left? Have fun cooking, and remember there's lots of maths in the kitchen. Have fun while you learn.